Hey guys, what's going on? So I'm actually recording this about 1:45 in the morning. I worked a late shift this last night, and I spent most of the day, most of my time after getting off of work, going over some YouTube videos with some creators talking about what Pokemon meant to them. And I don't know, it inspired me to talk about Pokemon, and it talked about myself personally, and to talk about what Pokemon means to me. So I'm a little older than a lot of the YouTube creators that are out there, and I'm a lot older than most of my friends. So I was alive, well into live, when Pokemon Red and Blue came out. I believe it came out in 1997 in the United States, and I was, I believe, in third grade at the time, second or third grade, and I had a couple of friends, but I didn't have a lot of friends. But Pokemon helped bring me into that. I still remember getting my game, loading it up, sitting at home. Ended up picking Bulbasaur. Bulbasaur is always going to be my first starter if I've got the choice. He's who I picked in X and Y when I got the chance there. I will always pick Bulbasaur. I know everybody loves Charmander or Squirtle, but I loved Bulbasaur. Uh, but I I remember taking my Game Boy to school and just talking to people, telling people about the missing no glitch, telling people about my team, telling people about the different Pokemon that I've caught, legendary, so on and so forth. And I just remember it, and it actually made me feel accepted for a long time in grade school. I was overweight in grade school. I was not athletic at all, which a lot of my classmates were into, baseball and football and soccer and stuff like that, and I just wasn't. But Pokemon allowed me to have a common interest with them, to share something with them that otherwise I wouldn't have been able to share. And it actually, like, talking to these people ended up getting me involved in things later on in life. I got involved in football, I got involved in soccer, I got involved in baseball a little bit, not so much. But I got to share some of these interests with people. And then middle school happened, and I believe it was 2000 when we got gold and silver in the United States. It was somewhere around there, and I was either in fifth grade going on to sixth grade, or I was in sixth grade already. I don't quite remember. Um, Middle school was rough for me. My grandfather at the time, who had lived with my mom since almost the day I was born, when my dad left, he had taken ill. He got diagnosed with terminal lung cancer in 1993. He passed away in 2000. And so this guy who had essentially been my father figure for most of my life had passed away. Um, I was starting to suffer from mental illness. I was having really bad anxiety. I was having depression. I was having suicidal thoughts. And it really ostracized me from the kids around me to the point where I talked with one of my friends, one of the people I hung out with, who said that he hung out with me first because his mom kind of pressured him into it, and we ended up becoming really good friends. We're still friends to this day, so that should tell you something. 15, 16 years later, we're still talking. But I didn't have very many friends, and my family life was really, really rough. My mom was working two jobs just to support us. My dad wasn't in the picture. It was just me, and I was essentially taking care of my little brother. I didn't have very many friends, but I had Pokemon. I had something. I had, at the time, gold and silver. I had this huge, gigantic land to explore, all these new Pokemon to catch, old friends that I could bring up and have fun and have a new experience with. And it made me feel like I had something going right in my life. I had, something to do. I would go to school, and school life was hell for me. And I could just think to myself, hey, I just have to get through a couple of hours, and then I can go home and I can play Pokemon. Um, and it was rough for me, but I still had that Pokemon entity in my life. I wasn't very involved in the community. I wasn't big on the internet or anything like that. Being a 13-year-old at the time, it was also kind of when the internet was kind of starting to get a little bit bigger, and we could actually use it a little bit better. But I wasn't big into it. Um, I remember Ruby and Sapphire coming out, and I didn't play them very much because at the time I was living. I ended up having a really bad relapse as far as suicidal ideations go, and I had tried to kill myself when I was 13, and I was in a hospital for about a month, and I kind of played the system and got out and tried it again. Ended up in another hospital, and I was with my mom after that for a couple of months, but everything was just kind of collapsing in around me, and I ended up lashing out. So I got sent to live with my dad. And my dad did not really care much for video games, so I didn't really get to play a lot of Ruby and Sapphire. I got to play them much later on, but I didn't really get to play them at the time. Uh, which sucked because that was high school for me. Like, I actually started making a lot of friends in high school, but none of them were interested in the same sort of things I was interested in, at least not when it came to like Pokemon. Some of them were interested in the same video games, but none of them were interested in Pokemon. And I don't know, it felt really weird to me because that was a huge part of my childhood at the time, and I wasn't able to fully enjoy it like I wanted to. But somewhere around my 17th birthday, I want to say, they released Fire Red and Leaf Green. And I remember specifically that my mom, still knowing that I liked Pokemon, had purchased me a Game Boy Advance SP. I think it was an SP at the time. It might have been the original Game Boy Advance. And I believe it was Fire Red that I got. I'm pretty sure it was Fire Red. So I got back into it as far as that goes, but I didn't play much of Ruby and Sapphire for a while. Time comes for me to graduate high school. I end up going into the military. I do my basic training. I do my my advanced training, my medical training, AIT. I remember in April of my training, I believe it was April 2007, they released Diamond and Pearl. I remember specifically going out on a weekend that I had a pass to San Antonio, to the mall in San Antonio, to a GameStop, purchasing myself one of those bulky ass original Nintendo DS's, you know, the ones that are like that thick. Purchasing myself one of those and purchasing Pearl. And I actually did not like 4th gen that much. Going back and playing it now, I enjoy it a little more, but at the time I didn't really care much for it. For me, it was primarily playing it for the sake of playing it so that I could get caught up on the new Pokemon, but it didn't really hold a personal meaning to me until Heart Gold and Soul Silver came out. To this day, that is the only the only set of games that I purchased both of. You know, I got Pokemon Red, I had Pokemon Yellow, I had Pokemon Gold, I had Fire Red, I got Ruby much later on, I had Pokemon Pearl. Heart Gold Soul Silver was the only Pokemon games that I got both of because I wanted everything. Heart Gold or Gold and Silver were such a huge integral part of my childhood that I wanted to feel that again. And all the new ways, all the new mechanics they made to make you feel like you were that much closer to your Pokemon, it just brought me so much in love with the series again. Everything that I had missed since my childhood all came flooding back to me. I started to meet some new friends that were interested in Pokemon while I was in the military, which kind of shocked me. I started getting into the online community, chat rooms, message boards, role-playing, things like that. It was incredible for me. Once I got out of the military, I hit another pretty big snag with my life. I had about a 25-day notice that I was getting out because I had put paperwork in to extend my contract, and the paperwork did not go through. I did not have enough time left on my contract to extend it, but nobody told me that at the time of filling out the paperwork. So with about 25 days left, I'm scrambling. I'm having to do all this stuff to close out essentially my military career, and I'm trying to figure out what I need to do with the rest of my life. I moved in with a person who was a very close childhood friend. I had known him for 12 years at the time, and I had had back surgery about a week after moving in with him. So I had the back surgery. I was on bed rest for about a week. I was on some moderate painkillers. And because I was on some moderate painkillers, I wasn't able to keep track of things as closely as I normally would have. I'm usually really good about keeping track of meds, keeping track of dosages, and he was sneaking pills from me. And when I confronted him about it, he told me that I was staying there and that I owed him, essentially, that he was helping me out and I could help him out. And then when I got upset because my pain meds were supposed to last me a month, and I was supposed to take 2 a day. I had a 60 pill supply, 2 per day. Out of 60, I took 8. 8 pills. He had the rest of them. And so I got rather upset with him for that, and the next thing I know, he essentially kicked me out. In the middle of Kansas City, I have a couple $100 to my name, but I have no vehicle, I have nothing essentially, and he kicks me out. So I ended up homeless in Kansas City, which was incredibly unfortunate. I got set up in a homeless shelter that was specifically for homeless and disabled veterans, and it was very rough. It was rough going for a long time. My depression came back in a big way. I had bits and pieces with it when I was in the military, a little bit more than others. I would start to see a little bit of a gain as far as like gaining ground against it, and then I would just see a huge backslide, and it was very rough. I felt a lot of shame. Even now, it's kind of hard for me to talk about because I'm doing fairly well for myself now. I have a decent place. I'm moving into a new place here in a couple of days with a couple of really good friends. Um, I've got a good job. I've got food in my stomach. I've got a roof over my head. I have a computer, and I have the ability to make a YouTube video. Like, how good do I have it now? But at the time, it was just such a dirty little secret of mine. And I believe it was in March of 2011. Maybe it was 2012. Um, I'm almost sure it was 2011. Pokemon Black and White released. And I remember at the time I didn't really care much for those games. I had played them on an emulator. PokemonProject.org had done a translation patch for the Japanese ROM, but they had not done anything else as far as those games went. So I'm like, oh, I'll just play the Japanese ROM with the patch. Like, that's not a big deal. Uh, about a week before June started, I ended up finally breaking down and going to GameStop and getting a physical copy simply so I could check out the wireless features. I could play through it myself. And then June 6th, 2011, I got some really rough news with a couple of the soldiers that I had trained with when I was in the military. They were medics in my platoon. I trained them. I helped take care of them. I was typically the guy if they needed something. I was the one who was staying late helping them fill out paperwork. As long as it didn't require, a higher up signature, I was helping them out. And they were killed in a rocket attack in Iraq. And that hit me probably harder than just about anything else in my life has hit me. Because not only did I lose 2 people who they were my soldiers. Like, I may not have been in charge of them at the time that they had passed, but they were my soldiers. I considered them brothers. I didn't always get along with them, but it doesn't matter. It was really rough because of that. I felt a lot of survivor's guilt because of the fact that I had the opportunity to go overseas and I screwed up and I didn't get the paperwork in. And these were guys who were 20 years old. I believe both of them were 20 years old at the time of their passing. One of them had a fiance. He was supposed to come home and get married and start a family. The other one he was a total goofball, but he had a way of making people laugh. And they were the ones who died, and I was not. I had nothing really going for me at the time. I felt like losing me would have been much better than losing one of them. And for a couple of weeks after that, the depression was so bad that I wouldn't get out of bed. I would occasionally walk downstairs to our little cafeteria to eat, but I was eating maybe a single meal a day. But I had my DS with me. I had my computer with me. And when I couldn't cry anymore, when I had no tears left to shed, I played Pokemon. And for that little bit of time, it helped get my mind off of things. It helped me just go to a different universe, a different place where I could just play with these creatures and battle these little creatures and just not have to deal with life. And it was rewarding for me. It was probably the one thing that is the reason I'm here today. Because I really think that if I had just let it all hit me all at once for the entirety of the period, I just would have lost the will to live. Um, so yeah, that was that, and then that was the depressing part of the video. I'm sorry. Um, I try not to be so depressing. I actually try to be the life of the party, but I am being upfront and honest with what Pokemon means to me, and to say that I kind of needed to go over that. And so I got into a community college there, and I did that for a little while. I met some amazing people. Um, one of which her son essentially considers me his uncle, and so that was that was when I really started to notice that my life was turning around for me, that things were going a little bit better. I ended up transferring to Kansas State University from this community college, majoring in biochemistry with a medical focus. I had an apartment set up here. I have my cat, who you've probably seen in videos before, who will not leave me alone while I'm recording, but for some reason today is perfectly content to just go away and not bother me. And it's probably because she's doing something she's not supposed to. And so I moved out to Kansas State University, uh, and X and Y was announced. I go to the midnight release of X and Y. Excuse me. And I always tell people this story. I was fully expecting there to be like 8, 9, 10, 12-year-old kids, all waiting with their parents. That entire night I saw 3 people under the age of 16. Everybody else was my age. I sat there for 4 hours and just recounted stories with people. Everything from my very first starter to what it felt like when you first faced your first gym leader to your very first shiny to your favorite Pokemon. Bulbasaur, Zubat, Cyndaquil in that order. First starter, first shiny, favorite Pokemon. And it made me feel like the community was alive and well. And this isn't I'm not going to say it's a big town. It's not a small town either. It's a town of about 75,000 when school's in session. A town of like 75,000 people. I got to talk to, I don't know, maybe 24 different people just about what Pokemon meant to them. And this is, 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago. Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire releases. It's the exact same story. Except at this point, I've actually started to make some friends within that community. A couple of my friends that I've done stuff on YouTube with, I haven't think I've posted it because the editing ended up getting a little too difficult for me. I'm still learning editing. Uh, it's really helped me out. Like I've got a good set of friends here now. I still play Pokemon fairly regularly. I'm in a Pokemon Draft League. So even if I'm not playing X and Y or Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, like I'm playing Super Mystery Dungeon, I'm playing Pokemon on Showdown, I'm playing Pokemon Insurgents, I'm playing fan games, I'm playing ROM hacks, I'm playing randomizers, I'm doing Pokemon just about every day of my life. And then getting the reveal, I guess it was technically 2 days ago, it was Friday, of Pokemon Sun and Moon. I woke up, I closed the night before, so I was busy until about 10 o'clock at night, and then I had packing and stuff to do to get ready for this move. I do apologize for the yawns. Like I said, it's 2:05 in the morning right now. Um, I had packing and stuff to do. I didn't get to sleep till about 3 in the morning. I set my alarm for 8:30 to wake up so I could catch the reveal. Planning to go to sleep after it had finished, since I had to work last night, or Friday night. I never went back to bed. I was so hyped. Um, I think probably the thing that I can say is the most telling about Pokemon, about what Pokemon means to me, is that Pokemon has been there my entire life. Almost my entire life. I mean, 20 years of my life has been with this game, with the cards, with the video game, with the anime, even though I'm still trying to get caught up on that, except for Best Wishes. I heard it's not that good. The movies, all the different merchandise, all the different things that Pokemon has, I've been involved with in some way, shape, or form. Uh, in the past 20 years of my life, like that's 2 decades, 2 decades of my life. There are people who will graduate this year from high school, have never lived in a world without Pokemon, and that is baffling. Like, I used to say to people to make them feel old, like, oh, hey, by the way, the people who can legally drink this year were born the year Toy Story came out. And that makes me feel old, too, but that's not the point. Um, but we have had such a positive influence from Pokemon. I have yet to talk to a single person that played Pokemon and was just like, yeah, it negatively impacted my life. Um, it's been such a good influence. It's been such a positive influence. And for that, I'm thankful. And I know that I am so hyped for when Sun and Moon come out. I don't really like the titles of the games, but at the same time, I thought X and Y was stupid, and Black and White was stupid. And lo and behold, actually decent games. So I'm really hyped for that. I cannot wait until the end of the year for those. I apologize for all the yawning. I should probably, cut this video short and head to bed. But I just have one last thing left to say. If for whatever reason any of you guys are ever having issues, you're suffering from depression or anxiety, or you feel like you just need to talk, DM me. Shoot me a comment, say, hey, I need someone to talk to. I will answer anybody who says that. As long as I don't feel like you're trolling, like, oh, I think I need somebody to talk to, my sandwich was burnt. I don't give a fuck. But if you genuinely need somebody to talk to, I've been through a lot in my life. What I've talked about on here is a lot of the big pieces. I've had a lot of the little pieces, but I don't want to make a 6-hour long video. Talk to me. All you have to do is shoot me a comment, shoot me a DM, hit me up on Twitter. If I can remember, I'm going to put this up tomorrow, Sunday afternoon, because I'm going to go to bed once I get done with this tonight, and I'll let it render overnight. But if you ever need to talk, find a way to get a hold of me, and we'll talk. Okay? I guess that's kind of the last thing that I need to say. If for whatever reason you guys need something to say, leave a comment down in the comment section below. But most importantly, thank you, Pokemon. Thank you, Nintendo. Thank you, Satoru Iwata, for all the things that he did for Pokemon. Thank you for Satoshi Tajiri, Shigeru Miyamoto, because if I remember the story right, Shigeru Miyamoto is the one that kind of gave Nintendo a heads up of like, I really think that this is going to be successful. So thank you for having faith in this tiny little franchise that grew into a multi-billion-dollar series and brought millions, and I would say probably borderline on billions of a billion people together. Thank you for that. With that being said, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up. I will see you guys next time. Tommy out.